right, here we go on a Thursday in the month of May, the second Thursday of May, and what a day it is. Welcome in, everybody, to another United podcast, brought to you, as always, by UPick6. We are live tonight at the UPick6 Tap House, and oh goodness, sports and excitement just continues along as we go through the summer. You know, it's interesting because when we get to this time of year, it's what you would consider athletics, and no pun intended because we did elect a new pope today, athletics purgatory, because we still have sports going on. We're going to get to some of that in just a moment, including a men's Atlantic East Golf Regional at Whispering Woods that had a fireworks day one with so many great golfers and a lot of challenges on that course earlier today. We're going to get to some of that in a bit, but also, of course, we're starting to look ahead towards this summer and some of the great events and camps that you will get a chance to be a part of as Erie community members, especially if you have those young athletes that are looking to make their way through the youth ranks and, of course, get some experience as well. So we're going to be talking to a couple of coaches today as they get set for their summer camps, and we'll also preview some of the things that go on in the summer as well. And, of course, that recap of day one of the East Atlantic Regional. So much happening tonight. Again, we want to thank the UPick6 Tap House, as always, for being a part of our podcast and hosting us every single Thursday night on the corner of 4th and State. Make sure to stop in anytime. They have wonderful food. We're going to get to their dish of the day in just a moment. And, of course, a great atmosphere as well. We already saw two Gannon teams here tonight. Men's soccer is here. We got a couple of others here as well. The place just gets busier and busier. So we appreciate the UPick6 Tap House for being a part of our show each and every day. Here's what we got going on tonight. Head coach Cleve Wright, women's basketball, going to join us in a couple of minutes to talk some summer camp and just what this time of the year means, along with all the other excitement that comes through the month of May. Colin Peterson, fan favorite from women's soccer, the bench boss there, will join us to preview the upcoming season and, of course, his summer camp, plus a little bit of an outlook on what the state of soccer is in Erie County right now. Really interesting conversation that you won't want to miss. And, of course, we'll update you on the men's golf regional, which teams are ahead, which golfers did the best, and, of course, what to look for tomorrow with the weather hopefully a little bit better, at least it's what it shows, in the coming hours. So, without further ado, let's get things started, everybody, on this United podcast, our third to last podcast of the 2025 academic year. We start with our dish of the day. Nothing better than to preview some of the great food here at the UPick6 Tap. Today's dish of the day, continuing with what has been for the most part of the spring semester a pizza theme, are the pizza muffins. If you don't like all that pizza, well, you just put it in muffin tin form, and that's what you get here. I'm taking out the marinara sauce because I don't want to spill it, but you get a half a dozen of these wonderful pizza muffins. They kind of look like pepperoni balls, and they taste somewhat like that, too. It's delicious. They are wonderful. It doesn't look like one person could eat all of them, but once you get a chance to taste them, you might be able to eat all of them. Pizza muffins are our dish of the day. And as always, when you get our dish of the day every Thursday from 6 until 10 p.m., you are able to get that dish for $2 off at the UPick6 Tap House every single Thursday. So an opportunity for you to bring some friends, get that dish of the day for $2 off, and of course enjoy what's going to be a wonderful dish each and every single time. So the pizza muffins tonight from 6 to 10 o'clock here at the Tap House are $2 off, and of course all the other great food and drink on hand at this restaurant are delicious as well. So you'll have no doubt an enjoyable time here at the Tap House. All right, let's talk about the summer. We're going to get into the regional in just a few minutes. We're going to hear from head coach Colin Peterson in a few minutes as well, but let's start talking about the exciting things that we have coming up in the coming summer months, because as we talked about, this is the time in the athletic year where we look forward to some of the development parts of what athletics and the student-athlete experience is. So, back with us again, head coach Cleve Wright, women's basketball. It's been too long. I saw you earlier this morning at the regional. Did you stay warm? I don't know what holes you were out at.
Nobody was warm out there. I can't imagine the way I golf. If I hit a ball, it would feel hard. My whole body would shake.
You know, the crazy thing was watching the golfers today hit beautiful shots, and they wouldn't plug, but they would just hit the green and they would almost stop. And Whispering Woods is a great course. It's in great condition, But, oh, my goodness, I can't imagine hitting irons and drivers out in 45-degree weather.
Well, you know what? I hit a lot of worm burners, so there's not a lot of plugging. You got to be able to get the ball in the air.
Hey, we just call them zingers, right? Line drive shots. They work the same. If you get pars on the scorecard, they work the same, right?
My southern twist is that it's worm burner.
Hey, I'm a big, all right, whatever you got to call it. I'm a big fan. It's great to see you. And again, we're talking about the excitement over the summer, Coach. And as we know, one of the biggest things around Gannon Athletics and Gannon University are Gannon Summer Athletic Camps. So many of our athletic programs do them. They've been running for such a long time. And you, of course, have one of the fan favorites around with your women's basketball summer camp. I just want to start with kind of when you started to begin this process, and obviously camps have been going on in different sports for decades upon decades now. What intrigued you so much about wanting to be able to build this camp and, give back, if you will, to the next generation year in, year out of potential student athletes in this area?
Well, I mean, it's a part. All of our players work. It's a chance for us to be able to give back. Of course, it's a fundraiser for us. I just think it's an opportunity for our players to see that they are role models, and we get a chance to teach. We don't just teach the game of basketball. We're teaching about teamwork and teaching character traits throughout, life skills, and getting that connection with the young people of the community. Really, we get the benefit of being able to teach, being able to mentor, also being able to have a connection there and a relationship that the campers feel like they're getting better. Yeah. We're giving them tools, and then the added benefit is they get a connection with our players and they come to games. So we love that as well.
You've been a coach around here for a while, and you've gotten the Erie community very, very well. Take me back to when you were coaching, back in your heyday when you had the opportunity to really ingrain yourself in the Erie community. You know that nowadays high school basketball in this area, there's a supreme level of talent. You have a couple players on your team that are from Cathedral Prep and graduated at the time from Villa Maria. How invaluable is an experience like this for the young athletes in this area to be able to get that? Obviously they get a chance to talk to the players and the student athletes, and they build that relationship. But I have to believe that the time that these kids spend with your team has to help them just developmental-wise as they move forward.
Well, I think it does. I think you're around players in our program that their mentality is a competitive mentality. And it's and you want to rub elbows and be around people who are living your dream. That's one thing I say in the camp is that these players in front of you are living your dream. Because one of the first questions is how many of you want to play college basketball, and everybody raises their hand, of course, or most people raise their hand, especially in our high intensity camps and some things like that. And so when you raise your hand, it's like, okay, well then you need to make sure that as we're working and we're teaching them again, some things, how to interact, skill sets, things like that. But also, get a chance to find out, hey, how did you get to this level? And the younger ones, they have no clue when it comes to that, and they don't need to be talking about that. But as we get into our shooting camp that has high school kids in it, as we get into our high intensity that's 6, 7, 8, those things are talked about.
I'm sure you have conversations with the kids when they start. You, of course, ask them questions. What are some of the questions, the popular questions that the kids ask the student athletes, or they ask you, some of the things they really want to know when they get into camp, and pick your brain a little bit about just the knowledge that you've got?
Yeah, I think really that comes about, we have an elite camp where we invite top recruits, and we invite anybody can come, but a lot of times that's a lot of our recruits are there. It's a very high intensity high school camp. As opposed to our middle school camp, and some of the questions that we'll get, what's a normal day look like? What does what do you guys travel? What does that look like? How much time do you spend studying? How much time do you spend practicing? They just kind of are curious. They don't know what it looks like, and they just want to get some kind of into that. And or they'll say, why did you come to Gannon?
Yeah.
I like that one. And so those, there's various ones, especially again in that high school elite camp. That's when you'll get a lot of that.
And by the way, in the top right-hand corner, as we talked through to Coach Wright here for the duration of this chat, if you scan that QR code, you can get more information on how to participate in these women's basketball camps coming up in the summer. And you just mentioned it and alluded to it, there are multiple camps, multiple opportunities for you to be able to be a part of different sort of drills and success plans for these young athletes. Take us through what those kind of look like and how they differ from each other, and what might be the best one for you or your child.
Well, we have them for everybody.
I was going to say, you really can't go wrong no matter which one you pick.
Our first camps, the very first week in June, we have one of our fundamental camps is June 9th through the 12th. That's grades 3 through 6. That has a half-day option, 9 through 12, or a whole-day option. I think it's 9 to 4, I believe. And that's grades 3 through 6. It's a fundamental camp. It's for kids that you can be competitive, but you're still learning, and you're getting a chance to work on your skills. There's some basic stuff in there, but then, depending on the level of camp, sometimes we can advance it a little bit, but we really put it in there for kids to learn. In the evening of that same week, same dates, June 9th through 12th, we do what we call a Little Dribblers camp. And Little Dribblers is grades 1 through 3. This is one where, well, let me describe this. So great, Little Dribblers is 90% fun.
Yeah. It has to be.
And 10% basketball. Otherwise, you lose them completely.
I've got one that'll be going into first grade a few years. I totally understand.
There we go. So 90-10, 85-15 at the most. But then when you, referring back to the first camp, that's also that same week, the fundamental camp, grades 3 through 6, now you're 75, 25, 70, 30, roughly. And so there's still, maybe it's more 60-40, but there's a lot of fun in the fundamental camp and then more basketball. And then as we get into later in the month of June, we have our high intensity camp, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. These are for middle school players that are serious. And we have that overlap of 6th grade. And the overlap on the front end is Little Dribblers, 3rd grade. So if you have a serious, they can come to both, Little Dribblers and fundamental. That's an overlap. And then with the 6th grade, the fundamental and the high intensity. 6th grade is a key decision time, and so that's why we went ahead and had that overlap. That has become a very popular camp. We just started that. I think this will be our 3rd summer, and we get some of the top middle school kids in the area, and we just say that's going to be more like 80% basketball, 20% fun. Like you're into it, and so maybe even a little higher than that. We really treat it like these players are serious. And so I really try to get the word out because I know there's other players that are serious about basketball that really want to learn and really want to compete and do things like that. Really try to get the word out about that one. And that one is actually, let me make sure I say it right, June 23rd through the 26th, and that's 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So it's a half day. And then in the afternoon of those same dates, but it's only the first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 23rd through the 25th is a shooting camp. A lot of players, if you decide you're going to come to the high intensity, you want to do the shooting, there's a discount there or whatever. But all we do is shooting in the afternoon, and I love to teach shooting. Every player gets evaluated. I personally try to watch almost all of them. You go home with an evaluation. We really take it seriously. That is a major week. So if you're 6th grade to 8th grade, you definitely need to be in the high, and you're serious about basketball, you need to be in that high intensity camp. And then the shooting camp is 6th grade to 12th grade. So if you really just want to get reps and you want somebody to look at your shot, somebody to evaluate your shot, somebody to help you figure it out, then that's the camp you want to come to. And then after that, well, there's 2 other camps. One, right before that high intensity camp, we have our high school elite camp. That's on June 22nd. You're going to get all this on the registration if you click on the QR code, or if you could just go on our website, or if you just type in GannonSports. I think it's GannonSportsCamp.com. We'll put it on there. We'll find that before we'll have it up. But the QR code gets you there, and then there's this website. You can look at all of these, and then the final one is a specialty camp. It's a post camp. I think, again, we've been running this 4 or 5 years. We usually get about 20 players, so it's a lot of attention, and that's a good number. We teach post play. We teach how to play with your back to the basket, which nobody talks about anymore. And so we really enjoy that. We've had a lot of players repeat it. We've had we've had people travel from New York. When we look at post play here, and again in women's basketball, we've had probably 6 or 7 All-Americans. I bet 5 of them have been post players. So, so we really take our camp season very serious. If you're listening, you're a high school coach, we have team camps. Our team camp for our team shootout is a 2-day shootout. You can do 1 day, but if you want to come and stay, it's June 27th and 28th. And we would love to have as many teams in that as possible. But if you're out there and you got questions, click on the QR code. I think I'll have you can pull up my email on the website. Ask questions. If you're interested at all, ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And if your daughter's interested in playing basketball, has some interest, I already told you, kind of the levels. We're going to start with fun. It's the younger they are, the more fun it is. And then as they get older, basketball becomes the fun.
Right.
And I don't know about you, whether they like basketball or not, or they're just even thinking about it. Being around our players, I just think is so valuable. For girls to be around older girls, young women, young ladies that you want your daughter to emulate. I have 2 daughters. One of my daughters played for me, and I would just want my girls, my daughters or whatever, to be around those kind of people, and I vouch for them 100%.
And even in the few days that these young ladies are in camp, you see the maturation just in the few days when they get in to when they get out of the camp. I want to ask you, Coach, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, but I don't know if there's a specific age, so I want to poke a little bit more on this. Is there an age for all the parents out there who have young ladies who are wanting to get into sports and basketball specifically? Is there an age, a grade, where you should start making the basketball the fun as opposed to making, the fun part about basketball? And not that you ever want to take away the joy of the sport.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
When's that turning point, because I think sometimes maybe parents do it too early, parents do it too late. Is there a good time in somebody's life that they really need to flip that switch to say, okay, let's put up the intensity and really get serious about this basketball thing?
I definitely understand your question. I would say in general, but I think every young lady is different.
Okay.
But I think in general, 6th grade is a key decision-making time. That's one reason why we have the high-intensity camp where it's at. But I do think there are players and there are young ladies who decide later. But we kind of, in our camp season, and what we're trying to do is we really see that 6th grade as a critical, or even the 7th grade, because, again, we overlap that 6th grade with the fundamental and the high intensity because that's a key time. I think the 3rd grade is another time when you're doing that, and so that's why we have so much fun in the little dribblers. Certainly, there's basketball in there, and then the 3rd through 6th, there's still quite a bit of fun, but there's of course basketball in there, and then it flips in that high intensity 6th, 7th, and 8th, and obviously shooting. Shooting is you're shooting the entire camp, like you're shooting. I used to say you're shooting at least 1,000 plus shots in our camp alone because we're rep after rep after rep. We're going through drills. We give them a 10. I'm trying to think what you call it. It's 10 things where if you think this, you're going to do this. So it's almost clicks.
And if then,
so you can almost teach yourself. If then, thank you.
Yeah.
So like I'll say something and I'll give a cue. Like I'll give one. Here's one of the cues. The very first one is I'll say 10 toes, and they'll say basket, meaning when you're shooting, you want to have your 10 toes. You're squared up to the basket. Right. So I will say 10 toes. They'll say basket. And there's like 9 other one of those. And the funny thing is both my daughters came to all of my camps every year. They can still, to this day, I think, probably I'll give them at least 80. I guess they'll get 8, 9. They might even get all 10. Now, my youngest would probably get all 10. And maybe my oldest, because she was a really good shooter. So that is just a way I really wanted to come up with some way for them to be able to take the camp, go home and be able to correct themselves or help remind themselves of what they need to be doing when they're shooting. But that's just one thing.
It is cool that they remember that, and I'm sure there are many others that remember it too. I'm sure, heck, you've got things that you tell your team that are similar if-then things.
I'm a broken record with my team. They'll tell you that.
You know what? And that's not a bad thing because it makes them realize it and makes them know it in their head. Coach Wright joining us here with a couple more minutes left. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the excitement over preparations for the CCA Tip-Off Classic, because that's something as well that we'll learn more over the summer. Of course, we have some teams that, hopefully in the near future we get set to be excited about announcing and some details with the tournament. And, I think that makes that much summer this more exciting. Take us through just the momentum and the excitement that you've got around that as we get ready for that coming up in November, because it'll be here before you know it.
Well, we've been through an event like this, sponsored by the Conference Commissioners Association. That's what CCA stands for.
Yep.
And they're all over the country. We actually, in our history of our program, have been to three different ones. We went to one in California when I was here the first time, Anaheim, near Walt Disneyland, I believe it is. Yep. And then these last 2 years, 2 years ago, we went to Montana, and last year we went to Vancouver. And as I was talking to my team just last night, we were having a conversation about the CCA event that we're hosting here in Erie. And I said to them, those events were really good for us. They were great. We loved them. This year we're going to be home. And I said the difference this year is there's going to be a lot more people in the stands. Because like when we played at some of these other places, you're playing in the morning and off times because they only had one site. With us working in conjunction with Edinboro, these will be pretty much prime time events. And so, and the fact that, people, I would hope our fans would come watch us. I don't have any doubt they're going to watch that. But I think also we're going to have fans that are going to want to watch other teams, because the teaser that I'll give you is that every team in the CCA event made the national tournament this year, and there are some former Elite Eight participants besides us. There's actually at least one national champion, former national champion. I'd have to think about that again. So the level of basketball that is going to be on the court, both at the Highmark and in Edinboro at Macomb, is going to be a high-level basketball. And I know the people in our community here in Erie and in this surrounding area love basketball. So I think it's going to be a situation, or it's going to be a great event. I think not only is it going to be a great event for our players, who, like I said, I think people will want to come watch or whatever, but I think everybody who comes is going to enjoy the fact that there'll be people watching there that could be rooting for both teams. They're just enjoying watching really good basketball. So we're excited about it. Our kids are pumped. They know this is going to be a great challenge right out of the gate. And I want to say, what is it? There are 8 teams. Of course, both of us are from, Edinboro again and from Pennsylvania, and then there are literally like 4 other states or 5 other states. So it's really good.
Different states, different conferences, and as you mentioned, the teaser, every single team in the field has been to the national tournament in the past year. So it's great basketball, something to lick your chops on for the upcoming fall. And then, of course, summer camps. Make sure that QR code in the top right corner can take you for what you all need to know. Coach,
right there. Wait a minute.
There. You had
there.
You got it in the first try. So when we did the Day of Giving live stream, it took me a couple of minutes to realize the screen was reversed for some reason. So I had to point like this. You're more technologically
I almost needed my
Dramamine.
I almost made myself sick.
You got it right in the first try. Yeah, you're more skilled than I in that regard. So good on you on that. Hey, Coach, we appreciate the time as always, my friend. If you're going to be at golf tomorrow, I'll see you soon at
bright and early. You think?
Bright and early.
All right.
Hopefully, it's a little warmer and the rain holds off somewhat.
That's right. The last thing I'll say is, do not hesitate to ask questions.
Yes.
You don't have to call me just because they're coming and you're asking a question. If you're on the verge of you're trying to make a decision on whether or not camp is a good idea for your daughter, then I just want to encourage you to call, reach out. I'll be happy to ask questions, and we'd love to have as many young ladies and young girls just wanting to be excited about basketball and give our kids a chance to connect with them. Yeah,
they're awesome camps. You don't want to miss out this upcoming month and throughout the summer, Gannon women's basketball camps. All right, Coach, enjoy the rest of your evening. It's great to get to talk to you.
Thank you. I noticed you have not offered me one of those pizza balls, but that's okay.
Do you want one?
I don't know. Maybe after.
Typically one of the guests takes some to half the pizza ball. So if you want to take them all,
I'm not going to eat them in front. Maybe off camera. How about that?
All right, we'll save a couple pizza muffins for you. All right, Head Coach Cleve Wright joining us on the podcast. There are plenty to go around. There are 6 of them. I'm not going to eat all of them myself, although they look delicious enough to be able to eat all in one sitting. Pizza muffins are our dish of the day. They are $2 off from now until 10 o'clock, as is every single Thursday our dish of the day. A couple bucks off at the U Pick 6 Tap House. It's a great opportunity opportunity for you to get a discount on some great food and, of course, some great drink as well down here on the corner of 4th and State. We appreciate the UPick6 Tap House for being part of our podcast and for partnering with us on this United podcast. All right, time now for the moment you've all been waiting for. We are in day one, almost done officially with day one of the NCAA D2 Atlantic East Regional Golf Tournament for the men, hosted at Whispering Woods. The conditions today, of course, weren't ideal. It rained in the morning. It was cold for the majority of the day. Really didn't get above 50 degrees at all during the day. Yet, these golfers, including the men's team, the defending regional champions for the Gannon Golden Knights, having an exquisite round of golf and some great shots to boot. Here are some of the highlights from what we saw earlier on this Thursday afternoon.
On the tee from Assumption University, Chris Stillwell.
So there are some of the many highlights that we saw during round one of this NCAA D2 Men's Atlantic East Regional, and there are still 2 more rounds to go. So 36 more holes of golf, meaning nothing is concrete, nothing is secure, but the players who played well today have themselves in a position to win the individual championship. Of course, though, the team championship is what all of us are looking at, the top 3 teams getting a chance to advance to the national championship. Here is the individual leaderboard right now as we take a look at some of the top scores. Aiden Talent from Davis and Elkins is currently in the lead on the individual side. 4 under. Nolan Skaggs and Emon Lim are the 3 golfers at present that are under par. Couple of Gannon Golden Knights sitting there right just around even par. Rasmus Seppänen with a wonderful last couple of holes on the front 9, and then 2 birdies on the 12th and 15th is at even par. Mattia Perini is 1 over, and the Golden Knights playing well individually. Here's where things look right now on the team leaderboard. As it stands right now, if things ended today, the Golden Knights would indeed be heading back to Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, but there's still 36 holes to go. Davis and Elkins in the clubhouse with the lead as a team, 6 over par combined. And then it's Gannon tied for second with PSAC foe Cal PA with 11 over as the team total score. UPJ trailing both of those teams, another PSAC foe for the Golden Knights. They're 12 over as a squad. Still a couple of golfers left on the course for UPJ. Then it's a Delphi in a tie right now with UPJ, Livingstone, Charleston, West Virginia State, and Thomas Aquinas, Southern New Hampshire, and Felician. They're the top 10 as we speak right now. But like we said, still plenty more left to go in this Division II Atlantic East Regional. Of course, we'll keep you appraised and up to date on social media. Make sure to stay tuned to social media. Our pages will be the hub and the home for all things Atlantic East Regional. We'll have updates, whether it be via video, scoreboard, or graphical updates. We'll continue to keep you posted from Whispering Woods Golf Club with the round 2 pairings, trios, I should say, beginning tomorrow morning just after the 7 o'clock hour. All right, continuing along here on the United Podcast, here's a look with what's on tap as we get ready to close out the 2024-2025 athletic calendar year, but still some stuff left to go. Here's a look at what's on tap. Inside our show rundown tonight as what you can be excited to look forward to after we get through what's on tap. But at present, what's on tap right now with our upcoming events is this. Men's golf, as we've talked about, continuing their run through the NCAA Regional at Whispering Woods through Saturday. Round 2 tomorrow, round 3 Saturday to close things out, and we'll see where the chips fall after that. If men's golf does secure one of those top 3 spots to be able to get to the NCAA National Championships, they would be heading to Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, May 20th through the 22nd to take part in those national championships. The Golden Knights, of course, won the region last year, looking to repeat or at least get there again this season. And they're at a good spot right now in a tie for second place. Still a lot of golf left to go, but as Scott Stano has said constantly, you can't win the tournament on the first day, but you can certainly lose the tournament, and the Golden Knights have put themselves exactly where they have to be, so a great showing today from those 5 in the lineup. Then this summer, of course, as we've been talking about, so many athletic camps, and you can head to our website, www.gannonsports.com, or you can go to the QR code for women's basketball, so many other summer camps as well, information being found on our website. And as well as the Gannon University website for all the summer camps that are going on as well. One of the summer camps that we're excited for as well is women's soccer. Of course, head coach Colin Peterson has been putting this on for quite some time as his team not only gets ready for camp, but prepares for the fall season, because that is coming up sooner than we can believe. Here's my conversation with head coach Colin Peterson just a short while ago as they get excited for summer camps and the year ahead. Here with the man himself, Colin Peterson, who has found some time to carve out a few moments with us because you coach, 4 or 5 teams in the spring?
Yeah, busy guy.
Busy guy, but he loves his sport and he loves what he does. Talking about some summer camps, of course, getting ready for the fall season. You know, we always say in this business it's never too early to talk about something, because it always feels like when you're at this point in the year, you're into May, your season's just a few months away. How important is this part of the year for you guys and this team, and trying to ramp up and get ready for what's going to be an exciting fall?
Well, hopefully we've left them in pretty good shape,
Yeah.
But we did have a good off season. The games that we played, was quality stuff. Our training sessions were really good, and on top of that, I really think we kind of focused quite a bit on the physical side of things. So our weight training program that Bex Young has implemented is terrific. The girls like it, and it seems to be pretty effective. So we're actually in the process of adding some of that into our summer workout program. So the girls are in somewhat good shape, leaving, and so now it's just going to be up to them to make sure that they maintain and stay in shape, and hopefully push themselves a little bit, so that when we get into preseason, we don't have to really spend that much time on the physical side of things, we don't have to, the fitness side of things. So last year, for the majority, that was the case, and we were able to get into the tactical side of things right away. So that's important, because we only have 17 days, and with the way that the preseason schedule works now, we only have 3 or 4 tour-a-days, and then it goes, to single days. So, so it's really important that they come in shape, and if we want to go anywhere, if we want to achieve our goals and go another step and make it to the regional finals and Final Four, all that kind of stuff, then there's, the onus is on them.
I know that at this point in your coaching career, with as much as you've been able to accumulate knowledge-wise, that you trust your team, and you've talked about last year, the off-season program went really well. They came into camp, they were all ready to go. But how long did it take you as a coach to, I don't want to say try to give up the control, because you're always trying to control the situation, but how long did it take you to get to a point where you felt like you were comfortable in believing what the plan was in the summer? Because again, it's the one time of year where you're not necessarily around everyone on your team.
Yeah, that's a tough part for that is the tough part.
Oh, it's still tough.
Yeah, I mean, we do try to keep in touch with the players during the season, during the summer, just kind of feel out where they are, and I think the players themselves, kind of hold each other accountable for that. But it also helps a lot that a lot of the players are actually playing in the summer. So, with the Commodores teams that the girls have played on, and there's a variety of other teams that some of the girls have been involved in the summer. That helps out a lot too, because that also kind of maintains match fitness, and so they don't really have to stick to our workout program, if they are playing, because they get quite a bit of that, as whatever teams they are playing on. So that helps out, but it was tough, and it wasn't always that easy. There were times when they came in for preseason, and I had to put the hammer down a little bit, and it's not fun for them, and it's not fun for me either. So if we right off the bat we have a couple fitness tests, and we'll know right away, and so if I'm satisfied with that, then we'll go straight into the tactical side of things, because you have to put things together, in 2.5 weeks, and then you're playing your first game, and our first 2 games are crucial. Right. So it's not like, we can ease in. It's right off the bat, we're playing very important, out of conference games, and regionally, that makes a big difference. And that, compared to the year before last, where we tied and lost one of those games, and we won both last year, it helped us out a ton.
And to your point, since the time you started coaching, the off season shortens because you're playing games sooner. Of course, the language as to what you're allowed to do with the team in the off season, the preseason, to what you are is different. And so you've been through it all. And we're going to get to summer camps in a second, but I want to get your take on this, because we've seen, at least from my view, I feel like in the last decade plus, we have seen Erie soccer outside of high school and collegiate teams really take off, right? Whether it's been with the Commodores team, whether it's been with some of the Erie FC or other programs, that you see these high schoolers now that are playing collegiate level Division I talent as sophomores and juniors in the summer. Have you seen it take off? And what about soccer has, in Erie specifically, if at all, has you excited about the future, just in terms of what we've seen outside of the collegiate, the high school game, maybe in the summer or something like that?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, because I do think at the grassroots level, it kind of fluctuates. Yeah. There's going to be certain times where there's a really good class that comes through, and that's kind of the challenge for a high school coach. There's sometimes you get what you get, and so it kind of fluctuates in terms of the ability and the technical ability from each class. And so I think overall, I think it's it hasn't really taken off that much. Okay. I think a lot to do with that is because our club teams are kind of watered down. I've always said it, and there's no, there's no mincing my words. I believe that there should only be one club in, a soccer club, because if you do, there's a ton of talent here. There is, and and now you have 2 clubs that aren't, necessarily great, but if there was one, we could be super competitive in every single one of those age groups, every single one. And then, for me, I've never really needed to coach the best team, and I didn't. That was never what it was about for me, and that's why our off season here again, it is huge for me, because I do a lot of one-on-one, small group kind of stuff, and that stuff is what drives me. That's the thing that kind of races my motor. That kind of gets me going, because I like to develop kids. Yeah. And I think the way that you develop kids is good training, right? Obviously the kids have to have a good attitude, but just like here, you have to have the kids around each other that push you. And so I don't think that's where, I don't think we get that enough. So yeah, I mean, you know me, I got a lot of local girls on my team, you know, and so I believe in them, you know, I do. And so I just wish that there was some way that we could do that. You know, I'm not getting into the politics and side of things of that, but we're kind of letting the kids down. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it's a good transition because you talked about the number of local kids on your team and how impactful that is with some of the one-on-one groups you can do. Another impactful part is summer camps. I'm guessing some of the players that are on your team took part in the summer camps that you've been running now for almost 2 decades. You know, and we'll get to the details in a second, but getting a chance to host something like this on campus where it's an opportunity to showcase and help develop the next group and younger level of talent here in Erie. What's that like for you being able to be a part of that and hosting your summer camp for the better part of 2 decades now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be honest, it was Rob Van Renen that started those camps, you know, and I was always involved with them. I was always coaching here, you know, even, you know, when I first started out, you know, when I was helping Rob, you know, I was involved with them, and it's just a fun camp, you know. We have a good format, and I think what I like about it too is that some of the kids that were in those camps are now actually helping out, you know. So it's just, it's always been a fun thing for me to do, and I from just in talking to, you know, the kids and the parents, they get a lot out of it, but it's also a ton of fun. You know, we involve the pool, and it's not all just about soccer, because, you know, you go from 9 till 3 in the afternoon. Right. It can be, you know, hot. You're out on the turf, and it's like 100 degrees out. You know, but I enjoy doing it, and I can see the kids love it. So
if you sign up, if you're interested and you have the opportunity to sign up, take me through some of the things that some of the kids at the camp will get a chance to do and get to experience.
Yeah, we have a format. We start in early morning. We do a warm up. Sometimes we'll do a group warm up. You know, maybe fun games, and then we get into the technical side of things. Every day there's a different technical aspect. So one day it might be passing technique, one day it might be control out of the air, you know, those kind of things. So we have a specific theme for that particular day. Then later, in the later part of the morning session, we do small-sided games, which you know, I don't have to go in the benefits of that. It's, you know, kind of puts kids under pressure, you know. So and then we put a slant on that with that particular technical theme for that day. You know, so sometimes we'll add, you're only allowed 2 touches, you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes it'll be, you can, every time you get the ball, you have to dribble at them, you have to take one-on-one, you know, those kind of things. So, and then in the afternoon, half the group goes and swims, half the group plays bigger formats, and then we play 8v8 or 11v11 on the field, and then the groups switch, and then we're done for the day.
You coach some youth teams right now in the spring. You know the area of soccer well. You know the development side of soccer. How important are camps like these to a younger player and potential student athlete's development? And again, it's a part of their life where I'm sure you know, and I think everyone can realize this, where developing is such an important part. How important would something like this be for a kid who's trying to develop, trying to get into the game more?
Yeah, I think these camps are getting more and more important because there's a social aspect to it. It's not just about soccer. It's, you know, it's about kids kind of taking them out of their comfort zone, and now they have to deal with kids that they maybe don't know. So it's really, I think it's really important, and it's not just soccer camps, of course, it's all camps, because the way that the world is going, you know, kids are so stuck on their iPads and their phones, you know, it's hard for them to communicate. And so I think more so than learning, you know, anything about the soccer game, which you do, it's more on the social aspect side of things. You know, it's very, very important for the kids.
Take us through some of the details for those who don't know, how you can go sign up, and what the age range and divisions are.
Yeah, you know, on the Ghana website, there's a link that hit camps, and there's two options for you. You can go to it's under the women's soccer link, but it's both for boys and girls. So it's that's just the way we put it. So you go in women's soccer, and then there's two options for you this year. We'd love to have you at both, and just click on there, and it's an easy registration process, and then you go from there.
Our sincere thanks to head coach Colin Peterson for joining us on this episode of the United Podcast to talk about his summer camp and, of course, the upcoming season. So much excitement around what women's soccer, of course, did last year. And Paige Taylor with our Athletics Play of the Year and, of course, with what is to come with summer camps as well. So many teams, of course, doing them. Make sure to head over to our website, www.gannonsports.com, for more information on these summer camps. Before we let you go tonight, I want to give a shout out to both Sadie Carroll and Dom Costello for being our Chick-fil-A Erie Gannon Student Athletes of the Week. All right, as we let you go tonight, of course, make sure to stay tuned to our social media pages throughout the entire weekend. We will have live updates, videos, graphics, scores, you name it, from the NCAA D2 Men's Golf Regional. Gannon trying to make it back to national championships. They're in a good spot right now. Can Scott Stano's team continue to keep this dominance alive throughout the weekend? We'll find out. 36 more exhilarating holes left to play, and we'll have that covered from our team and every team in that regional throughout the remainder of the weekend. Then, of course, we're back next Thursday, 6 o'clock at the Pick 6 Tap House as we continue to talk about all things exciting with the summer and hopefully a preview of men's golf national championships in Florida. Until then, everybody, we leave you with the week that was on what's been a wonderful Thursday. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we wish you the best as we get ready for a new week. See you all, everybody, in just about 24 hours. Stay tuned, and see you then.